Hey there, volleyball fans! I'm Sydney Lemmerher, and I am absolutely thrilled to be your host for today's special interviews featuring two exceptional athletes from the Razorback Volleyball team. Meet Avery Calame and Aniya Madkin. These two players showcase unmatched skill and passion every time they step onto the court. But before we dive into their stories, let's take a moment to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Everett Auto Group. They're the driving force behind Buick's See Her Greatness campaign, celebrating the achievements and empowerment of female athletes. With locations in Benton, Bryant, and Rogers, the Everett Auto Group is all about supporting women in sports, and we are so grateful to have them on board. Now, let's get ready to explore the journeys of Avery and Aniya. As your host for today's interviews and former Razorback gymnast, I am honored to guide you through the experiences and insights of these two remarkable athletes. Get ready to be inspired by their stories of resilience, determination, and triumph. It's time to hear their stories and discover what makes them true champions on and off the court. So, hi guys.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So excited to talk to you today. Can you both start off by telling me a little bit about yourself, your name, where you're from, and how you got into volleyball?
Okay. I'm Avery Calame, like you said. I am from McKinney, Texas. That's like 30 minutes from Dallas. And I started playing volleyball when I was like 10. Originally, my mom forced me to play it, but around age 12, I actually started to really enjoy it and knew I wanted to take it further. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, so my name is Aniya Madkin. I'm from Clinton, Mississippi, and I started playing volleyball when I was 15. So
Wow.
Dang, I didn't even
Oh
know
my
that.
gosh.
Not long ago at all. My parents did not allow me to play volleyball. They made me play basketball.
There you go.
And so I finally got into volleyball, and now I'm here in Arkansas.
Can you guys share why you chose Arkansas?
The main reason, the coaching staff.
Yeah.
That they were really easy to talk to and they were very personable. So
Yeah.
that was a big factor into that.
What about you?
Yeah, so I chose Arkansas because it's not too far from my family. It's
Yeah.
only like 6.5 hours, 7 hours.
Yeah.
Like Avery said, the coaching staff, they were just super supportive, and I felt really wanted here.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted in this
Yeah.
one.
So this one will be definitely interesting for you, but can you guys share a moment in your younger career, I won't say necessarily youth since yours was 15, but that made you realize like volleyball is what I'm good at, it's what I want to do in college, and that you just kind of realized like that was your passion?
I think I first realized I wanted to take volleyball to the next level when I realized that you could play in college for it and there were scholarships offered.
Yeah,
So I think that was a big motivator for me. Like I think anyone who plays a sport, their first goal is to get a D1 scholarship or any sort of scholarship for the school.
Was there like a moment that made you realize that? Like did you watch a collegiate volleyball match? Or?
Well, I got a letter in the mail when I was 14 and I was like, what is this? I didn't know you could go to school for this stuff. So then I was like, okay, well let's start recruiting.
There you
and get into
go.
that. So,
Be serious now.
Yeah. What about you at 15?
Yeah. Same for me. My dad was an athlete, so
Okay.
I knew a little bit about like recruiting and going to college. My parents always told me like, we're not paying for college for you.
Yeah.
You have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And like I said, Mississippi, super small. Like I had never heard of anyone going to college for volleyball, and then I started getting recruited. And after I committed here, it was like a big thing because I realized I was the first Black female athlete from Mississippi to ever get a full scholarship.
Wow.
To play volleyball.
Wow.
And so that was like super surprising and like exciting, obviously. So I think that was like
yeah, maybe a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a huge accomplishment. That is insane. And I think like you guys, I feel like both have kind of an interesting take where a lot of girls, like personally for gymnastics, like I grew up watching college gymnastics. Like I wanted to be them when I was older.
Yeah.
Sounds like you guys kind of like, I'm just gonna see where the journey takes me, but you know, it led you here. So all journeys are different.
Yes.
And speaking of that, so obviously you guys were once little kids, but now you have this platform where you're those big girls that they look up to. What do you want them to remember about you as they're aspiring to try to, you know, be you one day?
I think if they can just remember that anyone can do it. And like Aniya, she started when she was 15. I have a friend, she started when she was 15 also. She plays at A&M. So if you're dedicated and you really want to do something, you can absolutely do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think just working hard.
Yeah.
Like putting your mind towards something and seeing now like how much more women are being uplifted and even the media coverage that we're getting nowadays. I feel like just being able to see that and know, like, wow, I can do this too, especially now that we're getting a little bit more coverage than we have in the past few years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That is the perfect segue to my next question, actually. Like you said, you know, women's sports, even especially our volleyball team this past year, attendance went up. All eyes are going up, but more people are talking on social, not just necessarily about volleyball, but we saw it with Caitlin Clark. We've seen it with Livy Dunn at LSU.
Yes.
So there's obviously some negatives that come with that, but what positives do you guys think that social media can bring to your sport and female sports to kind of more so uplift it?
I think it can just allow everyone to realize that it's just as serious and competitive as men's sports, and if not a little bit more competitive in some aspects of that. Because I think it makes it's a little bit more entertaining because girls are emotional, so there's a little bit more like drama and grit to it, and I think that light can be shed on that. We can get a lot more
and
attention.
I feel like we see a lot more female athletes kind of have a chip on their shoulder for that reason of like, we show emotion, but we're just as good as the guys are. We're more, honestly, maybe more entertaining than some of the guys' matches are, or, you know, basketball games. Clearly, they drew 17 million people to watch it. So I love that aspect of that.
Yeah, and I feel like women in general are, sometimes I could say nervous to be like super emotional or like to care too much about something just because the way society has viewed us as a whole for a long time. So I think the coverage and social media has allowed for us to be seen and more humanized. Like we get mad on the court, get frustrated. We have things that we have to go through, but we're like pushing and grinding every day. And I feel like it's really being shown now.
What advice would you have to an athlete, a female athlete that is kind of discouraged by the lack of visibility that their sport might be getting?
I'd say try their best not to be concerned about that, because all that matters is your team and your teammates. So just play for them and don't worry about the outside perspectives and who's being seen. But it can be frustrating, but just know control what you can control.
So I would say if you're like struggling to feel encouraged, just to go within yourself and figure out if this is something you really want to do, because if it is, you have all of the opportunity.
So, more one-on-one personal questions here. Can either one of you share a moment in your career so far that it was just like you're going to remember it for the rest of your life, whether it was a team thing that happened to you or an individual goal that you met? Talk a little bit about that.
Okay. I think for me, it was my first collegiate game I got to play in. It was against A&M when I was a freshman, and I was so nervous. It was Jill Gillen, she got hurt, and I had to go in and fill her spot. First time on the court, but I got into it, and it was the most fun I've ever had. And I think it was such a confidence boost, realizing like, okay, I can actually play at the collegiate level. Like I'm not just on the team. Like I can compete with these girls. So that was really special to me, and I will never forget that.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, I remember I was in St. Louis, Missouri, and we were at a tournament, Triple Crown. Everybody knows Triple Crown. That's in St. Louis.
Yes.
We were walking home at like 8:30 right after we played, and we were all tired, and it was just me and my parents because they came with me to every single tournament. And I got like my first little email, my first little recruiting email. And you can't really get recruited until you reach a certain age. They can't reach out to you and give you a scholarship or anything until a certain age now. But my mom saw it and she just broke down crying. Because obviously volleyball is not something that's big where I'm from. So it was like, wow, like this, I can do this. I struggled when I was younger, just like believing in myself and having like the confidence to play my best. So getting that and seeing how much it, like my parents reacted to it and how like proud of me they were, it made me realize like I can do this. And there's so much more out there for me. So
do either one of you have any sort of fun rituals or superstitions or things you have to do before a match?
Well, we haven't had any matches recently, but before practice, I've been drinking a Celsius, and it has changed my game for some reason. I don't know if it's become a superstition thing, but it makes me jump higher and swing harder.
There you go. So you have to try it in season.
Yeah, I'm going to try that in season, see how that goes.
I don't really have a superstition, just because I feel like well, with us, like, we can get stuck somewhere.
Yeah.
We can, like, we're traveling everywhere, so nothing can ever be, like,
exactly the same.
exactly
yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
But I'm never wearing the same socks. Like, I am right now, but I always have on different socks.
You are always mix matching.
And
Yeah.
it's just a thing now. Like, I wouldn't say that I do it on purpose.
Yeah.
But
now
it
you're like, I kind of
happens.
have to.
And
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just wearing 2 different socks.
Yeah.
And it's all right.
Well, do either one of you have, so maybe you don't have like a specific routine, but say you lost the point or you had a bad set and you need to kind of regroup. I've seen it plenty of times from your guys' where you regroup and go and win the next 3. Is there anything y'all kind of say to yourself or remind yourself while you're in that moment?
I think you have to have a short-term memory, especially in volleyball, because it's a game of errors. So you get a point by someone messing up.
Yeah,
Like, that's just how it is. So you gotta be able to move on from the last play and just kind of forget about it. It's hard sometimes though, especially like say you were to mess up on game point. It's hard to and you feel like you lose it for the team, but it's just, you got to remember it's a buildup of points. It's never on one person.
Yeah.
You can't hold on to points like that. You got to be able to move on from that.
Yeah.
I feel like kind of same for me. My practice routine is like very hard on myself. Like every single point, I'm like reacting to it, and I'm like, what could I have done better? But in the game, it's like you've trained hard enough, you've practiced, you put in the work. So when you make a mistake, it's like you just let it roll off.
Yeah.
And on to the next point, because if you hit the ball out and then you get aced,
Yeah.
and then you miss a serve,
Yeah.
like you're out the game.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So you
That's
gotta
fair.
get it together pretty quickly, or you're gonna just stack up on mistakes.
Yeah.
So, who was the first female athlete you remember watching and looking up to, whether it was volleyball or not? It doesn't have to be volleyball. And can you kind of say why you remember like just looking up to them so much?
I would have to say Carrie Walsh Jennings and April Ross.
Yep. We
And
talked about them.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember first watching, like it was my first time watching like volleyball on
Yep.
TV. I don't remember what Olympics it was. It was when I was maybe like 6th grade, 7th grade or something, and seeing them, and they were just so fast and could hit the ball so hard, and I was like, okay, I want to be like them.
I'd probably say like Gabby Douglas and Simone Biles.
Good
I watched
answer.
the Gabby Douglas movie.
We've talked about that in another interview. They're
Really?
like, it was the Gabby Douglas
It was
movie.
that movie. I was like, oh my gosh, she's going through so much. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it just really made me see like how much someone can go through
Yeah.
and still be so successful.
Yeah.
And that just really inspired me.
Last question. How would you address any haters that you or your team might have? And how would you kind of, turn it to make more positivity shed on your sport?
I think if you're not getting haters, then
You're not doing something.
you're not doing something right. You're not doing enough. Really think about it. No one's going to say that to your face. So if they're going to hide behind a screen and say that, it's not important enough. And I honestly kind of take it as a compliment. Like you care that much to
Say something?
Yeah, say something. Thank you. Thank you for watching.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would say, like we were talking about earlier, just protecting the team. We all have each other's backs. We all make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
We're human.
Right.
And just looking past that, just knowing that that doesn't define who we are. We're
Yeah.
more than our sport.
Yep.
We're more than just athletes. And yeah, just staying positive.
Yeah. Well, this was awesome. It was so nice to
Yes,
get to
it
know
was so
y'all.
fun.
Yes, well, that is a wrap for today's episode. I want to extend a massive thank you to the 2 phenomenal athletes who joined us today. Your stories are the heart and soul of our podcast, and your greatness shines through in every word. I also want to express my gratitude to the Everett Auto Group for continuing to promote the See Her Greatness campaign with locations in Benton, Bryan, and Rogers. They're not just in the business of selling cars, they're champions of celebrating female excellence in sports. To my listeners, I can't thank you enough for tuning in and being a part of this empowering journey. Remember, you can catch up on all of our episodes and stay connected with the latest from Everett's See Her Greatness campaign by following us on social media. Until next time, keep believing in your greatness, keep striving for your dreams, and keep celebrating the incredible achievements of women in sports. This is Sydney Lemmerhurt signing off.